Hey everybody, JEOPARDY here with another video. This time bringing you guys another installment of Character Witness Double Jeopardy. This where, in case you guys don't know, the show where I answer your guys' questions about the character that I previously covered in the main episode of Character Witness. And on today's episode, we are talking about Boba Fett himself, and answering what you guys wanted to ask me about my opinions of a specific element of the character or something of that nature. And I've got quite a few comments to go through, and so let's get to it. But right before that, I'd just like to say that stay tuned until the very end for a teaser of the next character that will be featured on Character Witness. So yeah, let's get straight to the questions. The first few come to us from Arc Trooper Mark, who thanks for watching. Mark, he's been very loyal and watching all of these Character Witnesses, so I definitely appreciate that. Thanks, dude. And the first question they asked is, well, what do I think of Boba's lines being redubbed with Temuera Morrison in The Empire Strikes Back? Blah. Excuse me, my tongue. Blah. Getting a little tired. It's a little bit late when I'm doing this. So, personally, I actually quite enjoyed that. And the reason being is that I can deny it as much as I want to, or not believe it to be true, but I am a prequel trilogy kid. And I love Jango Fett from Attack of the Clones. He was easily my favorite part of the movie, and I thought Temuera Morrison did an excellent job portraying him. He came off very intimidating, very cool, and just all-around awesome character. And so hearing the same voice coming from Boba Fett, it just draws that connection back to Jango. So you associate, like, oh, if Jango's this awesome, that means that Boba is this awesome. So I know it's a little bit strange, but I just enjoy that because growing up and seeing Jango on screen, it really set a standard for what Boba would be like. So I enjoyed hearing Temuera Morrison portray Boba through his voice in The Empire Strikes Back being redubbed. That's one of the few changes in the special editions that I actually enjoyed. So moving on to his next question is, why do you think Boba changed the color scheme of the armor from Jango's to what we see in the original trilogy? Personally, I think, and again, this is just kind of just throwing it out there as guesswork, but if I were Boba, I would want to try and kind of not totally distance myself from Jango, but create my own legacy. It's kind of like just kind of being in the shadow of the father almost. So he wanted to, be more independent, be recognizable as his own person and not just another guy in Jango's armor. So I think that was really kind of because I mean, just thinking about it, if you're a teenager like Boba was when he changed color of his armor, you want to be recognized on your own merits, not just for what your father may have done. So that's personally why I think Boba would have changed the color of his armor. But again, just throwing it out there, if just kind of putting myself in Boba's boots, so to speak. So great question. Moving on to the next question, again by Arc Trooper Mark, is what is my favorite expanded universe Boba Fett moment? That is a very tricky one, since my love of Boba Fett's character mainly comes from the expanded universe, since we didn't really get to see a whole lot of him in action in the movies. Again, very difficult to answer because he is such an awesome character in the EU. But I'd probably say that one of the moments that I got the most enjoyment from in the EU is in Shadows of the Empire, where near the end of the graphic novel, we see Boba. He's finally on Tatooine after that hectic trip from Cloud City, getting to Jabba's palace, and we see the speeder bike go flying out of the Slave One, and all the other bounty hunters are chasing after it, and especially Bosk is chasing after it, thinking, oh, don't let him get to Jabba's palace alive with Han, or we're not going to get the bounty. And then they finally catch up with the speeder, only to discover that it was actually poor Zuckuss, poor Zuckuss in Boba's armor, all tied up and gagged because Boba was misleading them, and instead of Han Solo, it was actually just pieces of Forlom. So I thought that was awesome, seeing Boba Fett one up the other bounty hunters. I thought that was great. And then the next panel we see is Boba standing over Han and victoriously standing right next to Jabba the Hutt. So I thought that was great. I really enjoyed that moment. But again, a lot of moments to choose from, and I'm sure that there's another equally awesome moment that I'm forgetting off the top of my head. But Boba is just awesome in the expanded universe. So another great question, and thanks again, Arc Trooper Mark, for your questions. Moving on to the next set of questions from Dan, aka RF Biker Scout. His first question is, do you think Fett was a better character before or after Attack of the Clones? And again, personally, going back to me being a prequel trilogy kid, I do think that he was actually better after Attack of the Clones. Attack of the Clones, really, again, you can say what you will about it, but I do think the Attack of the Clones definitely gave Boba a good origin story. It gave him a reason for being who he is. And because before that, he was just, he was another mysteriously unknown bounty hunter, pretty much. We didn't know that much about him. He has mysterious beginnings and stuff, and pretty much he just stood around looking cool in the original trilogy. But then we get the expanded universe, and we see more of the character, and we get to know, okay, why does he do these things? Why does he have these certain kind of preset notions in him? And I think Attack of the Clones definitely gave him a good origin. It gave him a good reason for becoming the cold-blooded bounty hunter that he becomes in the original trilogy and in the expanded universe. So I do think that Boba was definitely better after Attack of the Clones. Dan's next question is, what about his long-standing hatred of Han Solo? I definitely, that's something that I think I like it, because it definitely gives these two characters a definite antagonist in each other. I don't know, personally, though, I enjoy both these characters, so it's a little bit hard for me when I see these two characters at odds with each other, because I do love them both. Han is a great character, and Boba's a great character. So personally, that just kind of creates a little inner conflict in me. I know it's a bit silly, but I enjoy that it gives them an antagonism. And I enjoy seeing, two characters who just absolutely hate each other's guts, like Boba and Han do. More so Boba is doing the hating, and Han's just trying to get out of his way. But, so I enjoy that little relationship, and I enjoy how they've seemed to kind of, not so much, I don't want to make it sound like, they're best buds now, but they've kind of put aside some of their old differences in recent years. Dan's next question is his role in Scoundrels, and to be perfectly honest, I have not read Scoundrels, so I cannot answer that question, Dan. Sorry about that. Scoundrels is definitely high on my Star Wars reading list at the moment, so I will definitely try and get that read in the next few months or so. So, sorry, Dan, but I cannot answer a question to which I have no knowledge of. Next question. Having problems with his aging, seeing as how he is a clone. And again, that's another thing that I like, that connects the expanded universe and Attack of the Clones, and connecting the OT and the PT. And so it makes sense, because even though Boba was engineered to be a clone that, I guess you could say a perfect clone without the accelerated aging or anything, just to be pretty much mainly a normal human, that he still is a clone, and problems still arise from being an exact duplicate of somebody. So I like that. Again, it connects the two different time periods of Star Wars. It connects those two together. and it gives Boba another real problem, because Boba sometimes suffers from the problem of that he just doesn't have any problems, that he's so good at what he does that nothing can really phase him, really, but giving him a problem that he can't just, disintegrate. I like seeing when that stuff happens to characters. So next question by Dan. What do I think of his granddaughter? Which I like her. What I've read of her, mainly what I like is the whole notion of Boba having a family, and not necessarily a family that he's super close to, a family that he's kind of been separated from for many years, and seeing him try to make up later in his life. Because I've definitely noticed that as we see Boba growing older in the expanding universe, that he's kind of coming to terms with his life. He's kind of trying to make up for lost time, especially with his family. Definitely with his wife being frozen in carbonite for 4 years and trying to get caught up with her, and just seeing him trying to reconnect with his lost family, and seeing how he avenged his daughter, or indirectly avenged his daughter when she was murdered by Jason. And so I enjoy seeing that. I enjoy seeing Boba just trying to make ends meet with his family, and trying to not so much like leave a legacy of death and destruction, but trying to leave a more positive legacy, so to speak. So next question, what do I think of the big gap in time from the Boba Fett books to his droid's appearance? Personally, I enjoy not knowing what happens to a character every moment of his life. So I enjoy having a mysterious segment of a person's life, like what happened there, or just not reading about a character's literally every day of his life, because that's kind of I know I'm not necessarily talking Star Wars here, but take Batman for instance. I don't read, and I'll be the first one to tell you, I have not read every single Batman comic ever made. I haven't even read every single Batman comic made in the past 5 years. I don't necessarily want to read every Batman comic ever made. I just enjoy having general knowledge of the character. I enjoy reading about the major events in that character's life, again, using Batman as an example, reading his major story arcs and stuff like that, because we all know what this character does on a daily basis. So same goes for Boba, where I don't really need to know what he was doing in an exact year of his life, because chances are he'll be doing his normal bounty hunting stuff. He'll be getting contracts, doing disintegrations and whatnot, and I don't necessarily need to know every exact detail of that time of his life. So that doesn't really bother me, but I can understand why it would some people. I'm just not that type of person. So but yeah, I'm always interested to learn more about a character, so if they do release more books about Boba in the Dark Times, I'll definitely be interested in reading them. Next question from Dan is, where do you think the standalone movie should be set? And I actually discussed this on Dan's live stream, ironically enough, which I definitely encourage you guys, if you haven't watched already, to go to RF Biker Scouts channel and check out the Boba Fett live stream. I was a guest on that, and we talked for about 2 hours, I believe, 2 or 3 hours, about Boba Fett, his different appearances, the expanded universe, and everything, pretty much everything Boba Fett, even merchandise and whatnot. And my theory on the standalone Boba Fett movie, and my opinion on where it should be set, is I think that the standalone Boba Fett movie should be set in the Dark Times, when we're seeing Boba rise to become the top bounty hunter out there. And personally, I would love to see Daniel Logan play Boba, because he played Boba in Attack of the Clones, if you guys didn't know. and seeing him, I think he would make an excellent kind of young adult Boba. And then in Episode 7, which I believe Episode 7 is going to come out before the standalone Boba Fett movie. In Episode 7, which is going to be set after the original trilogy, have Boba Fett be played by Temuera Morrison, because Temuera Morrison, I believe, is in either his 50s or 60s now, which would be the appropriate time range for how old Boba would be at the time period that they're looking at for the new movie. So have Temuera Morrison play Boba in the new trilogy, and then have Daniel Logan play him in the standalone Boba Fett movie, which I think should take place during the Dark Times, because as actually Dan just had said earlier in his comment about the big chunk of time we don't know about Boba in the Dark Times, is there's a lot of unknown history to the character during that time period, whereas I feel that original trilogy onward, we pretty much know everything that Boba ever does. So I definitely think that I'd be more interested in seeing Boba during the Dark Times. So that's my personal opinion. So thank you, Dan, for your questions as well. And final question from another friend on YouTube, Zombie Annihilator 7x7 or 7x7. Yeah, definitely tell me which one it is. I always say 7x7 or 7x7, but getting off topic. The final question is, what did I think of Fett teaming up with Solo and training his daughter? I really like that, and the reason being is it shows that Boba isn't beyond getting over old grudges. That he's not so much ruled by old hatred. He definitely has character progression. We see he's hated Solo for the longest of times, but after his daughter was killed by Jason, and Solo's daughter Jaina is going to take him down, that we see him coming together with Solo for a common purpose, for a common good, so to speak, even though Boba's might have been more so related by personal revenge than for just truth and justice and whatnot. So I enjoy that. I enjoy seeing characters have progression, have character evolution, where they just don't stay stuck in their ways as they have always been for however many years. So I definitely think that this was a kind of turning point for Boba. It's Boba, he's changing as a character. He's not just stuck in the past, and he can get over certain things and let certain things go by. And like I said earlier, he's kind of not becoming like best buddies with Han by any means, but just kind of having a mutual respect of each other. And so yeah, I hope that answers your question. So again, thank you to all you guys for asking your questions. I definitely love answering these. Really great fun, and because what I've set out to do with Character Witness is, for the main episodes, I focus purely on the character themselves and how they've changed, what they're like, and my personal opinions on it. But with this, with Double Jeopardy, it gives me a chance to kind of branch out and talk again about like their family or a particular relationship they might have with one character, whether it be their like worst enemy or something like that, and what I think about like an upcoming projects they're featured in. So I do really enjoy answering your guys' questions, and I definitely encourage all you guys to leave questions and comments on Character Witness. I'm having great fun doing this series, and I look forward to doing more in the future. And I'd like to thank you guys for watching if you've stayed tuned this entire time, and to stay tuned just a little bit longer for a sneak peek of next week's episode of Character Witness. So thank you guys for watching as always. This is Boba Fett signing out. Bye.